Alright, this is part 2 of our exam review. We are looking at the scatter plot of annual hours of delay versus vehicles per day. We see that there is a positive relationship between these, moderately strong. It's not as strong as some of the other ones we've seen, but it's not like it's not a weak relationship by this standard. But we would want to indicate, moderately positive, possibly linear, relationship between the variables. Alright. Now if we added another data point at 200,000, 24,000, that would be up here. Now that's a vertical outlier, which means that it probably won't affect the slope too much. It might flatten it out a little bit. It will decrease the correlation though, okay? It will decrease the correlation because it does not fit the pattern. Okay? And a linear regression, the slope might be flattened out a little bit. That's always a result of decreasing the correlation. Okay? So let's look at our computer output. It says for hours of delay versus number of vehicles per day. So vehicles per day we see, that's our X. And hours of delay, that's our Y. Okay? So Y is hours. So I could use a Y hat equals negative 3629 plus 0.07822x, where X is the vehicles per day. So for each increase, right, for each additional vehicle, there's a delay, a predicted delay of 0.07822 hours. Okay? So that's the additional delay that we would see there. And the quantity S, again, that's the standard deviation of the residuals, right? If we were trying to explain that, we would explain that most residuals are within 3899.57 of the LSRL. Again, that's a pretty standard interpretation of the standard deviation. Okay. When we separate it with California versus the Western Plate states, we can kind of see that if I'm looking at California, I'm guessing there's maybe a little bit more of a slope, a higher slope, versus the Western states, if we were just to kind of estimate that. So we want to talk about that. So comment on how the relationship between average number of vehicles per day and hours of delay differs between California and others. Okay, looks like there's a lower y-intercept, and looks like there's like a little higher slope. I'm going to record that. So again, I just recorded what we said there instead of making you watch me write it. For our next example, we're looking at the mean number of cones per tree and number of crossbill pairs. Okay, so that's the talking about the cones per tree is the explanatory, and the number of crossbill pairs as the response. Our correlation is very high, positive. Okay, to find our least squares regression line, we have to start with B. So B would be R times S sub y divided by S sub x. So 0.968 times S sub y is 15.1 and S sub x is 16.2. So that's our value for B. Of course, A is equal to y bar minus bx bar, which is negative 2.746. Okay? So our predicted number of crossbill pairs is negative 2.746 plus 0.902 x, which is the mean number of cones per tree. Okay? For question 17, it asks the percentage of the variation in numbers can be accounted for by this regression. Okay? So we're talking about what is r squared. Well, r is 0.968, which makes r squared 0.937. Okay? So 93.7% can be explained. Based on the data, can we conclude that the abundance of spruce cones is responsible for the number of breeding pairs of crossbills? Now, they are correlated, but we haven't established any sort of causation. Okay? So the number one rule in statistics is understanding that correlation does not imply causation. There's no guarantee that changing this, or that this is actually caused by the spruce cones, actually caused the number of breeding pairs to increase. There's probably some other variable that explains both. Okay? Okay. In any case, just please remind yourself when we look at this, the most important things are: make sure that you understand when to use the explanations that we've talked about. So talk about interpreting correlation, slope, y-intercept. Look for when the y-intercept is outside of the range of possibilities. Sometimes you can interpret the y-intercept, but sometimes the y-intercept doesn't actually mean anything. Also remember, we have to think about the influence of outliers. A horizontal outlier has a much greater effect on slope. Vertical outliers tend to have an effect on the goodness of fit. Okay? And just focus on making sure that we kind of dot our I's and cross our T's. Predicted amount. We don't want to say that it increases, we want to say that its predicted amount increases. We want to kind of soften our language in that regard, especially when we're talking about slope. And just worry about kind of looking over all the stuff that we've done from the beginning of the unit till now. Okay? Good luck to everybody. I hope this video helped you to understand what we're looking for.